Champs-Élysées is at the center of the Olympics and has been long the gathering spot for the biggest moments in French life, from celebrations to protests to its signature sporting event. But many Parisians have fallen out of love with the Champs-Élysées. A new study says just 5% of those who visit each day are locals, compared to 100,000 tourists. But as I found out on a recent trip, there's a plan to attract Parisians back to a place that's captured the imagination of locals and visitors alike. As the American songwriter Joe Dassin wrote in his 1969 classic, "In the sun or the rain, at noon or at midnight, everything you could want is on the Champs-Élysées." It's the famous French road in the heart of Paris, known as the most beautiful avenue in the world.
Oh, Champs-Élysées, ah, ah, ah. Oh, Champs-Élysées, you know it.
As chairman of the committee Champs-Élysées, it's Marc-Antoine Jamet's job to keep it that way.
Où est-ce que vous nous installez par hasard?
Bonjour. He took me on a walk to the classic French patisserie, La Durée,
3 or 4, chocolate, strawberry, and pistachio maybe.
to sample some of their famous macaroons.
This is the Marie Antoinette.
That's a Marie Antoinette. That's perfect for you.
A shining example for visitors.
Tell me what's wrong with what I see here. I think it's gorgeous.
But Jamet says to Parisians, it's lost its luster.
We don't know if the avenue is still the most beautiful avenue of the world. That's the nickname, that's the reputation of the avenue. And probably that's not true. Maybe the avenue is a little bit dated, a little bit sad. Probably the avenue is not very clean. We believe that the avenue is almost sick, and we have to do something together.
He says the avenue is overrun by tourists and cars, creating air and noise pollution, evident from high above.
We hear it now.
That's very noisy.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Measuring just over a mile along the Seine River, originally created out of the forest by Louis XIV's gardener, the access road would become a route to his palace in Versailles. Over centuries, the avenue grew in stature, with monuments popping up at both ends.
You have an Arc de Triomphe just behind me. You have an obelisk coming from Egypt just behind you. You have the palace of the kings of France, Le Louvre, just behind you, the biggest museum of the world. You are really in the very middle of the historical part of Paris. That's the reason why this avenue is so charming. That's also the reason why we want to keep this avenue charming.
In 2019, Jamet's committee commissioned a study to determine how best to re-enchant the Champs-Élysées.
That was quite a hard question. Re-enchanting an avenue.
Architect Philippe Cambretta was tasked with sketching out a plan. But first, he needed to brush up on how we got here.
You obviously knew much of this history before working on this project.
Not at all.
Really?
Well, I knew what most Parisians know about the Champs-Élysées, about
Louis XIV.
Yeah, but very little. It forces me to really look at this history in detail that very few people know.
In the 19th and much of the 20th century, he says, the Champs-Élysées was iconic, a symbol of modernity.
The first subway in France was built below the Champs-Élysées. Then the car started to appear, and it was a happy story for many years.
But by the 1970s, cars took over the road. Luxury brands, many American, made it a shopping mecca. And its 30 acres of public gardens became less and less desirable for locals.
On that view,